The AR library is full of all sorts of handy assets, and there's a few ways to get to it. You can go to File, Search AR Library, or if this is empty, you can just click this AR Library button. You can add asset from AR Library, or click this little library button. And on the homepage here, there's a bunch of quick little links, and we're just going to go through this really quick. In 3D objects, there's a bunch of stuff that's from Sketchfab, which is a 3D warehouse, kind of like a 3D marketplace. And so a lot of these are from there. So they might not necessarily be from Spark, but it'll say underneath if it's from Sketchfab, or if we go back to these basic objects, these are all from Spark. And these are nice if you just need a really simple shape in there. You can make these in other programs, but this is a good jumping off point. And you can also search. So if I searched fireplace, Spark doesn't have any assets for that, but Sketchfab has a bunch. So you can click on these and see a little bit more information. This one has, looks like almost 3,000 polygons, I'm guessing is what geometry means. And so that would be usable inside of Spark. But you do have to be careful. Some models will have, 90,000 polygons, and that would not work very well in Spark. This file size is probably too big anyway. So in order to use these, you'd have to optimize it before you bring it into Spark. Now moving down, we have music and sound. And these are just a bunch of free to use sounds and sound effects. Very cool. Now, patch assets is probably one of the most useful of all these categories. If we click View All, we can see all sorts of useful patches. Here's a texture projection, the eyeball shader, the Sobel filter is good for edge detection. I have a lot of these are converting one value to another. And it's just basic math, but if you don't want to have to figure it out, you can just search for this and drop it in. And then down here, there's more shader-specific ones. You can add some chromatic aberration with this one. Adjust the colors, which we've looked at before. And some presets for getting a gradient working really quickly so you don't have to deal with a whole bunch of patches because they've already figured all that out. And then over in textures, all of these textures are only HDRI environment images. They're not actually like textures. But these are really useful because most of the time you can just grab one of these to use unless you have a really specific scene where you need really specific kind of color information or lighting in the environment. And there's only a few blocks in here. We've already touched on some of these down here. There's also the face distortion template. And this is handy for doing some quick basic face deformation. You can't go too crazy with it, but if you just need to push the eyes bigger or do a little bit of tweaking, you can do that here. And then the very last one is script packages. And here's just 5 different little preset script packages you can pull in to get started and see how they do some of their back-end scripting. So that's pretty much it. There's a lot here, and this search bar is really handy just for grabbing random assets. Like if I want a dog, you can see there's tons of options, like this dog pooping here. Only 4,000 polygons, so very useful. And when using assets built from someone else, it's always a good idea to attribute them. You can't necessarily do that in the filter itself, but if you're sharing it on social media or posting it to your website, try to link to the original creator. And that's always displayed right here because they worked hard building these, so you should at least give them credit.